What's up? What's up, man? We are back after action workshop. We're doing our thing, and hey, Chris, my brother, you braided your hair. I'm just seeing it now. You're braiding your
Yeah,
hair. For
it's my
La
Native
Raza.
American La Raza,
Is that-
baby.
That's all right, man. Nothing wrong with that. I like it, man. I like the hat with the braids. It's a different look, brother. Because last week you were looking a little bit unkept. A
Yes,
little bit unkept last
going for
week.
my homeless look.
Yeah. That's good, man. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, it works for everybody at some point, man. But welcome, man. Dougie, man. We're here in a hotel together. Where we at, Doug? You remember?
Albuquerque.
Well, we landed in
No,
Albuquerque. We're now in Santa Fe.
I'm tired and I'm far from home. That's my big time.
Yeah, we landed in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're now in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We're doing some stuff out here tomorrow. So we're just real happy to be here, man. So Chris, man, where you at?
I am in Indiana fever territory. I'm in Noblesville, Indiana.
Noblesville. Is that how close is that to Indianapolis?
Just north of it, like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that.
Okay, very cool, man. Very cool.
Out here doing Power and Peers with National FOPs, getting some train the trainers up to speed. So in the work.
Cool.
Very cool.
Well, man, hey, man, let's just get right to it, man, because we all got, we're all busy doing stuff. We're all over the damn country. So really quick, man, tonight's show, functional but not fine, right? When I've got it, starts to cost you. And what does that mean? Like for me, and it's kind of personal for me because there came a point, and I know all of us can say that, but there came a point that you're putting on that face and I'm fine. But underneath, shit's falling apart. Inside, shit's falling apart. Speak to that, Chris. Does that make sense?
Yeah, dude, it's you know what it is? It's like working on autopilot and you're just constantly going and you're not taking time for yourself. And it's funny because today's training we did self-care plans. Tonight everybody's going to get together and try to put together a really good self-care plan on what to do. But again, we all work ourselves to death, right? Whether it be on the job or retirement and stuff like that. We're constantly working. And it gets to the point where we're proficient enough to keep on doing it, but we're burning ourselves out. And we've all seen it. I know I've been there a bunch of times, and especially after retirement and stuff like that, where it's just like, dude, what's going on? And you start struggling, your relationships, you get short with people, tired. It's crazy.
Let me ask you this, and Doug, this for you, man. What about because and Chris, you'll relate. Yeah, you're burning out, man. But do you find that it's possible, when you're at work, you're working at a high level, you're super focused at work, and everything else is falling apart?
Yeah, that's how it was for me.
I mean, because the jobs that we've had, and the three about this, we've had some pretty intense jobs, some pretty important jobs. Between homicide, both of us being on SWAT, you being behind the scope, and we were doing that shit when things were messed up.
Yeah. I had everything going for me in the work field. And I don't know, you could sit there and go, oh, it's because we did it every day for years and years and years. But I also did it every day as a dad and a husband.
Yeah.
And I failed miserably. I was at work, it was autopilot. But when I went home, there's no autopilot at home. I don't think you can be an autopilot when you're raising kids and being in a family. You might think you are, but that's a difficult task.
So do you find, it is Chris, do you think that the autopilot at work easier for you just to kind of do the autopilot, but then at home, just like you said, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Lashing out or letting things happen at home and anger issues, that kind of thing, because of the autopilot at work?
So I think it's a little bit of both. So it's like autopilot, but this will be a good explanation. So working like a homicide, and this applies to some of the SWAT call-outs that we've had and everything like that. But was working a homicide and you're just nonstop. So there is no clock on the homicide wall, right? You're just constantly working until you run everything you can, and that is what it is. And I remember being up for like, it was almost like 36 hours, 37, 38 hours, something like that. But you're constantly moving and moving and moving and moving. The second you slow down just a little bit, boom, it punches you right in the face. And it's hard to pick back up. So there's that, just fatigued and constantly tired. But same thing for like a SWAT. We had a 60 or 72-hour SWAT call out. The guy was held up, and we were doing rotations. Like I was on the negotiator side. SWAT teams were rotating out. It was middle of the summer. So while we're doing it, just constantly moving, reposition. The guy was moving back and forth, all this good stuff. But the second you like came down, you're like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. But when the rotation came back up, you pop right back in it. You're still not like 100%. But here's the crazy thing. So, and this always happens. Like you'll be on a SWAT rotation where you'll be either in a sniper position, right? And you're coming up within 5 minutes of getting switched out to the new sniper or new element or a new quick reaction type unit. And then right before that happens, things go kinetic. So you don't get that. So are you operating at the best peak possible position you're in? No, but we rise to the occasion, and boom, we do what we need to do. You get that pump of adrenaline, and all this starts going. Now imagine doing that all the time. It just gets exhausting, and that's what everybody seems to be doing. And that kind of happens all over the place. And I don't care where you work, whether you're on the street, whether it's in homicide. You guys all done that? Like it's where you're getting ready to go home, and the shit just pops off. You're like,
and so because you're doing everything you just mentioned, right? You're working at a high level, and slow, fast, slow. You're just picking up, from whatever's thrown at you. You're doing it at work. What's that look like at home? Do you have enough in you to be as patient and as sharp and as ready to do and at home? What's that look like at home? And Doug, you speak to this sometimes in your presentation about not taking care of things at home. I mean, so what's it look like at home?
I mean, it looks like at home, it's usually when you get home, you're out of gas. You're completely out of gas. There's no adrenaline dump pulling into the driveway of your house. I might have got some adrenaline when I came home and saw smoke coming out of my kid's bedroom window, or there was days like that where they lit the mattress on. But generally, you don't have those type of days, and you come home and you're exhausted. And so that's what you go into the house with. Nothing in the tank. What I talk about is the kids would be so excited to see me when I came home. And I would come home and I'd always be like, hey, I'm too tired. Just go play in your room. I'll catch up with you later. But my kids understood it. They didn't see me as a tired dad. They didn't, understand it. So being mentally and physically tired are two different things.
Absolutely. And I think, Chris, and what you and Doug are both saying, there's no crisis at home. So no adrenaline to get up for. No, none of that. It's just
well, unless you got kids like me, then there could be a crisis at home.
So I'll tell you, when we're going over this topic, I was reminded of, remember that movie Heat with Al Pacino, Robert De Niro?
Yeah.
So Al Pacino's this nonstop, 100 miles an hour robbery homicide detective, and they're at a dinner thing where he got called to a robbery homicide. Winds up coming back to go pick up his wife, and she was talking about it. She goes, I signed up on this, and I knew that I was going to have to share you with the job, constantly doing all this stuff. But she goes, I'm not sharing. This is not sharing. I'm getting the scraps. I remember hearing that. I'm like, God, that is so on point. And I'm like, they must have had like a consultant. Yeah. So they get home. So what happens is we give, and I talk about this all the time. We're killing ourselves for a job or an organization that'll replace us in 4 seconds. And the people that we put on the back burner, our families and all that good stuff, and it's one of the things. It's like we're nicer and we interact with strangers better than we do with family. Because with our family, we kind of let our guard down and we're just like, I just feel like shit and blah, blah, blah. Well, you can't say that to some stranger on the street, right? So we treat strangers better than we do family. The family only gets us when the street and the job has beat us up all day or all week or all year or for decades. Then we get home and then we wonder why. Listen, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Why are you going to, well, why? And then there's a fight. And then like, listen, I'm trying to provide for this family, and now all you give me is grief, and so it kind of snowballs into the ungratefulness and stuff like that. But all that is we are not doing a good, healthy work-life balance. Work is great, but you know what happens? And I love saying this to like executive level staff for like chiefs or captains and majors. What would happen if you won the lottery and left the department? Would the department just completely collapse? No. The one thing that would happen was everybody would be like, yes, promotions. We got another spot here. But your department keeps going. So why are you killing yourself for a job that will place you before you're even cold in the ground? And you're not giving that. If you're that excited about the job and doing it, great. But put that much effort into home, marriage, kids, and family. Just balance. That's what it is.
You say balance, and I think my next question was going to be like, what's the first change? Like, what's the first sign that maybe there's some imbalance, and how do you start picking it up? So what's the change you think when you look back at Scallon's career, and Mondo's career? What was the first change?
Looking back,
probably
communication. Like you go from very talkative to, coming, hey, what'd you do? Oh, man, I had a rough day today, to slowly becomes just coming in. Let me just come in and just zone out, sit in my chair, sit in my couch, do what I got to do, have a couple of beers, watch TV, and all that. And slowly, those become, there's less conversation. Looking back, at the time, I didn't realize I was doing that. And then it was prolonging the stuff at work. Like, I could do this later. No, let me do this now. We're in the moment. We're doing this. We need to go and handle. Let's do it now. For shit that could wait till tomorrow. So, personality shift, lack of communication or diminished communication, and then it's at home, because we got to put on that facade when we're at work. Be nice, professional. At home, we start getting snippy, and we start getting a little aggravated and a little adversarial, and it's slowly but it doesn't happen overnight, and that's the problem.
No.
If it happened overnight, it'd be like you're being a dick. Why are you doing that? But it's slowly, and here's the other side of it: the family members knowing, like, all right, they're busy, Doug, Raul, they're doing all this work. Then they come home. Let me give them their space. Let me make sure that they're, and that goes on a little bit, and then a little bit longer, and you're like, all right, wait a minute. Then there's some resentment on that side. So.
Yeah.
No communication, resentment, enabling on both sides. So it's like it feeds like a fire that feeds itself.
It starts snowballing. Yeah, it starts snowballing. I was going to say, I think communication is probably the big thing. Because I remember distinctly, and you hit it on the head, taking more overtime. Hey, that raise the hand. Hey, I'll go ahead and do that. Just stay away from going home. It just kind of kept me focused. I'm going to jump on the question here before we forget here. What is one of the ways you have found to be the best way of decompressing after a mentally taxing day? The person often finds themselves struggling to check out from work when they've come home, and to be, a spouse and a parent.
Oh, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah.
Well, I failed at that miserably. I was going to be smart. The best way is to go home and drink a handle of Tito's.
No.
That didn't work for me.
Right.
The best way for me was which I failed at it, but I know it now. It was to go home and be home, and be a dad, be around the people that mean the most to you, be around what's good in your life at the time, which would be in your family, if that's the case, being with your loved ones and your spouse, and being in your own kingdom, safe, behind the front door, secure. That's what I learned from it.
I tell you, and this goes to what Doug is saying, and this is what I've learned is two things. You've got to be intentional. You've got to be intentional about trying to
Damn,
spend.
sound like Karen, dude.
Oh, okay. Well,
like
there
Karen.
you go.
You said,
Yeah, you got to be intentional with spending some type of time with the family, and I'm not sitting here giving you the magic. It's got to be 20 minutes. It's got to be 2 hours. That's going to differ between you and your family dynamic, but you got to be intentional with it and make sure you get that time and be present. So, in that being intentional, just being there, this is where I failed, is that I made sure I was there in body, but I wasn't present. I wasn't there with them and actually engaging. I just thought that being there, being there was the goal, and that made me, a good husband, good father, right? So be intentional, and preceding all of this, have that conversation with your spouse about just this, about what that means, about when I get home, I'm going to need, and I don't know what the dynamic is, but when I get home, I need 30 minutes to kind of decompress, and I'm coming right back to you, and we're going to have some meaningful conversation, some meaningful dialogue. I'm going to spend, 20 minutes with the kids. Be intentional with that. It's important to you, and the things that are important to us, we make time for it. So make time for it.
So just to look directly at the question, it says, what's the best way to do decompression after a mentally taxing day? Well, I'm going to refer to a book that most agencies heard about, and that's Dr. Kevin Gilmartin's Emotional Survival. So there's a difference between being physically exhausted and mentally exhausted. There are some crossovers where you can be both, 100%. But if you're mentally exhausted, one of the things that he talks about, and in the book it's specific to take a 22-minute walk around the block, building, whatever. And that's a good way to kind of determine whether you're physically or mentally tired. If after that walk, you take that 22-minute walk, kind of getting your heart rate up and everything like that, you're probably going to have more energy than you would have you just gone in there. Because if you're mentally exhausted, right, it's not physical. Like it's not, there's some physical attributes to being just mentally exhausted. You might have certain parts of your body hurt, your neck, your back, or your gut, or all this good stuff, right? But if you just go home and sink into that couch, you're gonna keep, that's a status quo. You're gonna keep on being mentally exhausted, right? So if you tax yourself a little bit, or just walking around, and I'd say tax, literally just walking around, doesn't have to be anything crazy, you'll be a little bit more invigorated. But that becomes a disciplinary kind of action, or having discipline. In other words, I'm going to get home, even though I'm mentally exhausted, I don't want to do it. It's like me if I go running. I hate running. I love the way I feel after I run. Mm-hmm. So again, coming home, you want to deal with that mentally taxing day. First thing is like what Raul and Doug were saying, you have to be present. All right. And a good way to be present is, and there's box breathing, there's identifying 5 things you see, 4 things you can hear, something you can taste, something, just kind of be grounding yourself. But in the walk, come up with what something specific. What do we eat tonight? What are we going to talk about? Mm-hmm. So focus on some other things, and it takes practice. It's not something like you're going to try it once and it's going to work. Figure some stuff out. I like puzzles or little my wife jokes me because there's a block game on the phone that I use, and it's just putting squares and little things. But what that does is, I'm not thinking about yesterday. I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about how to fit this motherfucking block into this thing.
But I was going to say, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry. I was going to say this one thing really cool that I heard. This, and it came to me at the end. I lost my train of thought, but this female LEO had told me what she does. I thought it was really cool that her uniforms in the garage, nice and neat.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and man, so she walks out into the garage, gets changed in the garage, gets in their car, and leaves. And then when she comes back home from work,
I hope I'm not frozen because it looks like Doug's asleep.
All right, we good? We good?
All right, you're back now.
All right, all right. So what is that? She leaves, goes to work. When she comes back, she gets out the car, takes off her uniform, puts back on her regular clothes, and when she goes through the door, she's mom again. But the process of taking off the clothes is kind of her decompression, kind of her taking the, and it takes a minute to take your uniform off. So and take everything off. So that process of doing that kind of helps her just to kind of shed that and get into mom mode, and get into wife mode. I thought it's such a really cool thing to do and disciplined thing to do. And she's like, that really helped her. So while, I don't have the magic answers, I as far as what exactly to do is definitely find something that works for you. I don't think alcohol is the way, so don't lean into that. But
Self-care,
whatever self-care that Chris talks about, the damn blocks. I'm a Royal Kingdom guy, and I play this. I don't even know what the hell the name of it is. It's a block game. It's like almost like a damn Tetris game. I'm looking for it now because you said it. Block Blast is what I play.
I pop balloons.
The man thing just for a few minutes. I play, every day for a few minutes, probably a few times a day for a few minutes, but it just lets me kind of decompress and not think about other shit that's going on. And then, when I finish, I'm ready to tackle other shit.
Yeah.
That's what works. So
it all seems comes back to self-care.
It does come back to self-care. So that's kind of how that way. You gonna say what were we saying, Chris?
So so the thing is, because I'm looking through some of the stuff we went through, like, how do we know? Like, how do I identify it? Because I told you, I noticed the first couple things that were going sideways with the communication stuff. I didn't notice that then. I noticed that now, looking back on it. So I think occasionally and randomly, when you're going home, there's an argument, or you're not feeling, you're like, oh man, you're feeling annoyed. Take a second to stop and go, okay, what is it that I'm exactly annoyed about? Now, it may be legit, it may not, whatever it is. But what I'd like people to do is stop for a second. Don't just run with it. I feel annoyed. I'm just going to be annoyed. What is making annoyed? When I talk to people, and they're like, I'm this or I'm that. I ask them, if you could wave a magic wand and get rid of whatever that thing is that's bothering you, annoying you, or causing you grief or whatever, what is that? Once you identify what that is, then you can start figuring out how to address it. Well, I'm tired. Normally it comes down to, I'm tired. I've used up all my gas at work and I just want to sit down. So what's the problem? First of all, you're not going to fix it right there. That's not going to happen, right? Even being present and grounding, all that stuff. The problem is, I need to make sure that I have enough gas at work and at home. And I don't mean get an extra tank. I mean, don't use it all up. You got one tank. Use what you can at work to obviously be safe and all that stuff. But also, again, make sure you're at home to use that. Now, there's time that's easier said. There's times where you're not going to be able to, because we've all been. I thought I was going to have like an easy day, and then 2 days later I'm home because shit just popped off, and just the nature of the job, right? So that's fine. But when you're down, maybe instead of rescheduling or going right back into it, take a breather. If that's plausible. If you're in the middle of investigation or in the middle of multiple operations, that ain't going to happen. But that's not, I will tell you, 99% of police work is administrative and a lot of mundane, hurry up and wait kind of stuff. And there's a very small portion that is balls to the wall bananas, right?
Yeah, so, and they never last forever. They balls to the wall.
No, exactly. So the big thing is, we also tire ourselves out prepping ourselves to do the work. And again, we put more focus on work than we do at home. And your bosses and the people that run these agencies, if they allow people to go 100 miles an hour at work and don't care what happens at home, they're going to burn out their people. great supervisors, great bosses make sure that that balance is there, and that, hey, you know what, we don't need you tomorrow, or you haven't taken a day off in like 5 weeks or something like that. How's your family? Are they okay? Why don't you take a day or two off? We'll manage. Because what happens is, if you don't, you're going to get sick, hurt, or otherwise, or in trouble, and then you're going to get sat down. And then when you get sat down, then what do? I'd rather sit down on my own than get sat down.
Yeah, absolutely. When is it to be? When do you disconnect? I mean, like, so when does the car? What's the word? So just a second ago. When can you start disconnecting from the whole thing? I mean, disconnecting from life, home life. Because you.
Like when we put what does that look like when we disconnect?
Yeah.
It's not wanting to go. Dude, I'll tell you, man, and I know Doug talks about it too. I remember I would look forward to work.
Mm-hmm.
I would look forward to work. I mean, I loved it. And then I started disconnect when I got home. I would sit in the driveway.
Yep.
For a while. And so much one day, my neighbor who's on the job at the time when I was living in another city, he's like, "What are you doing, bro?" I'm like, "I'm taking a second, my man." I'm just sitting here taking a second, because I know once I go through the door, I'm going to either have to defend why I'm not there when I was wanting to be there, and what I needed to do, or what didn't get done. And I'm like, let me get my couple seconds of here. So that's a problem. That's a problem. It shouldn't be like that. I should be just excited to go home as I am to go to work. And that's the disconnect, I think.
You should be excited to be home when you get there. Yeah, that's a difficult. That's a difficult juggle. It really is to separate the two, because when you're at work, you're hating it the whole time. Yeah, the whole time you're at work, you're like, "Fuck this place. This place sucks. My bosses are a jerk." The whole cop complaining thing. As you always say, Chris, cops will complain
about everything.
100 and it's not in 20s, right?
Yep.
And that's just what you do. And then you get home and you're like, "This sucks." This sucks.
And lastly, like the cost of that, and this is where it, we got to make sure we talk about it. But the cost of that is, lack of communication in the marriage is going to lead to problems and relationship issues, and of course with the kids, if you got kids, that's going to have an effect with that. And what about your health? We haven't talked about that. What about your health? When you're working yourself to death, when you're disconnecting from home, you're starting to live unhealthy, start affecting your sleep. All that's going to happen. It all will happen if you're not. So, is that a true statement? Or am I talking truth here?
Yeah, dude. Health is there's the mental health side of it. There's being sound in your mind and your thought. And then there's the physical health. Because what are we doing when we get at work? I will tell you, it wasn't until I started working homicide that I had sit-down cloth napkin dinners. But when I was in narcotics, the shit that we would eat, and listen, doing surveillance in a van for like 12 hours in a crib, not moving, not doing anything, being stagnant. A lot of the work we do, especially documenting or investigatory stuff, is administrative or like writing stuff. So you're sitting at a computer desk and you're just typing or following it. There's really not a lot of movement, and there's not a lot of healthy energy kind of displacement. Where there's a little bit, sometimes, I mean, in the guys on our tactical units, they were given an allotted time to work out, because that was part of their assignment. And I will tell you, when I was in K9, it was very regimented. Like every day we're hustling. And first of all, if you got one of those little maligators running around, they're going to keep you somewhat moving around. But the majority of police agencies and folks and police, it's very stagnant, right? So unless you're doing something very specific, or you're in a job or in a unit that has to be active, it can be very sedentary. I know guys that have been on that, and now, because I was there when it was like 8 and then 10-hour shifts. K9 was great because we worked like 7.5-hour shifts because we had time to clean up our dog and do all this other stuff. But now it's like, I mean, I don't know what it's like over where you used to be, but I think it's like 12-hour shifts, right?
Yeah, 12-hour shifts is
12-hour Could you imagine sitting in a patrol car for a 12-hour shift, getting in and out, maybe several, 8, 9, 10 times in that amount of time? That's nothing. And that's why we have the back problems. So what do? Take energy drinks. What do? We take all sorts of pills, medicine, whatever, to kind of keep us going. So when we go home, we're no good to anything. There's guys that have done absolutely nothing all day, like physical. They get home, and I think that's what the question kind of addresses. They're done, but they're not physically tired. They're mentally tired.
Right.
But and just one of the things that I think a lot of first responders don't focus on, I know I didn't for a long time, is eating healthy. So I, for a long time, lived to eat. Like it's something good. And again, to a certain extent, I crave certain things. I'm here at the hotel, and I talked to Jill, and she's like, "Did you eat anything today?" I said, "No." I said, "But when we get done," I said, she goes, "I figured you'd have like chicken wings." So like I'll eat certain like junk food. I love that. But it wasn't until I learned to eat to live that it started getting a little bit better. So do I want to eat crappy food? Of course. Do I wish, vegetables tasted like, chocolate bar or fried chicken or something like? Yes, I wish I did. But I made the effort to be like, and I found that the better I ate, the more energy I had, instead of just weighing myself down with all the stuff. And I will say this, because a lot of people don't realize this, but when you stop drinking, I never craved sweets ever. But when I stopped drinking years ago, it's all of a sudden the sugar that I wasn't getting, I started to crave. So for a little bit, I was like, "Oh, I just ate like 3 candy bars. Like what? Like what the fuck is going on? Like I don't normally do that." So that was a weird kind of like getting healthy caused me to maybe start eating a little bit unhealthy. So it's weird. And so the proper food, diet is important. Moving again. I hate yesterday. I'm exhausted. And you guys, you're flying in today. I was teaching all day and do all this stuff. It was late, and I was like, I gotta go for a run. I don't want, man. You should have seen me. I was having a conversation, and I was like, I'll go tomorrow. Tomorrow will be better. And then I'm like, oh, we got a show tomorrow. No, maybe I should. You know what? I'll only go for 20 minutes. And I was like, forget this. I'm going down there. I don't want to do it. I'm gonna just put in an hour worth of a run, and that's just what I'm gonna do. And of course, while I was sitting there trying to figure it out, I'm doom scrolling online, and I see Karen like getting ready to run another 437 miles, or I'm taking spin today. I'm like, now Karen's making me feel like shit. We're not getting up out of bed or doing something. So and like watching, I was watching something on Netflix where a guy was prepping to climb Mount Everest or climb El Capitan, or did like the Free Solo movie.
Oh, the guy on Netflix,
Alex or something like that.
He just climbed the tower in Tokyo.
I saw that live thing. So I'm watching all these people doing it, and I'm just sitting there, just staring at it. I'm like, let me get my dumb ass up and just start
trying to climb out of bed.
You know what? As much as I bitched and moaned about doing that, when I got done, man, I felt so much better.
Yeah,
so much better, and went to sleep a little bit better too because of that. So, yeah, health is no joke, man. No joke.
So really quick, I'll ask the question, and I'll kind of start off, but and we're going to go back in time here again. When did you realize that you weren't fine? When did you realize that you weren't fine? And I knew that I wasn't fine when I ended up sitting on the couch by myself several days in a row. I'd come home, and I could tell that family was afraid to make a noise, because when I was quiet, it was going to be quiet in the house. And that's why I knew that things weren't right. I didn't know what the hell to do. I just knew something was wrong. When did you guys realize that you weren't fine?
I didn't realize it, and I didn't realize it, but people would tell me, or people would ask me, like, man, hey, you all right? Or what's going on? And I'm like, man, and I would turn it into a joke. Like, mind your business. I got
Right.
I got the big joke was anytime we were doing an investigation or something, we had a lieutenant that used to ask us, he goes, you got any irons in the fire? Like, you got any investigations going on? So I was like, man, leave me alone, man. I got irons in the fire. I'm doing shit. There ain't no clock on the wall, man. I'm doing my stuff. Leave me.
Right.
But they were being legit. Or I'd go home and be like, hey, you all right? I mean, you haven't done anything, or you're doing it. I'm like, you can't let me relax for a little bit. Now you do that for a little while, and it was a moment. I'm like, maybe it's me. Like so
Right.
I didn't notice right away. It took a
And that's
long
my thing. Yeah, it's a moment when you're kind of, for me, it was like the moment, like, I've been on this couch for the last 4 days by myself.
Oh, I like that you did 4
But
days.
then I
appreciate that
just
a
kind
year.
of went to watching TV and didn't think about it. But I remember that distinctly as being one of the times I'm kind of like, something's wrong. But I didn't do shit about it, and I kind of forgot about it as quickly as it entered my mind. But yeah, so Doug, you remember thinking, when you realized things weren't right?
I think I knew over a long time that something was right. Nothing, particular stuck out until it was too late.
Yeah.
I kept missing the signs. Your buddy's going, "Hey, Doug, are you okay?" And what's wrong with you? And the most profound thing that stuck out, and y'all have heard me tell the story, is when my son called me from Iraq.
Yeah.
And he had just been involved in a shooting, and he was freaking out. And anyway, he kept saying, "Dad, I finally get it. I finally get it." And finally get him to tell me what it was. And he goes, "I finally understand why you came home from work the way you did." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "We never knew what Dad was coming home from work. We were held hostage. We didn't know if it was pissed off, angry Dad, or mad Dad, or sad Dad, but we had always hoped for happy Dad." And by that point, most of the kids were moved out, and better late than never, because I make it a priority to love them even harder now. But don't let it get that far.
Hey, Doug, let me ask you a question, because I remember you talking about it, and I remember earlier today somebody in the class that I was doing mentioned Survive First and Doug and everything, and then when you're talking, I remember you talking about, again, Doug, you're a little bit different. You're an elite athlete level kind of person, and I remember you said something that stuck out to me, that you would come home. Now, you're a guy that runs 5,000 miles, bikes 5 million miles, and swims 300,000 miles. And then you got home and it was like you didn't have the energy. And I remember thinking, like, Jesus Christ, that makes no fucking sense to me. I mean, it makes sense. But was that something that kind of hit you? Like, fuck, I don't have the energy to play with my kids, but I could run around the globe twice.
Yeah, at the time of my suicide attempt, my first one, running 70 miles a week. I was biking upwards to 300 to 500, and I was swimming about 30,000 meters a week. That was my average weekly training. And so my kids watched me win a world championship. They watched me, Cody watched me play soccer. Mm-hmm. They grew up and they knew their dad as you say, an elite athlete. And then I'm coming home from work going, I'm too tired. And then they're like, you're not ever tired, Dad. You do all these great things. But that was a double-edged sword at that time, because I wasn't physically, the mentally tired kept me from doing the physical stuff. Mm-hmm. And the physical stuff for me is what was bringing me joy in my life. Who finds joy in riding 500 miles? Listen, your asshole damn sure doesn't find joy on that bike, but that's what it was for me. It was that was the joy, and I lost focus on it.
So Chris, how old are you now? 50?
Yeah. A couple years, 52.
52. Okay, all right. What would you tell now? What would Chris Scown, 52 years old, tell you back then? how he was functioning? What would you tell him? What advice would you give him?
So Chris back in the day wouldn't have listened to advice, 100%.
What would you? Yeah, but knowing what you know now,
you know what I know now.
Yeah, what would you tell him? Yeah,
I would tell me if I ran into myself, I'd be like,
Yeah.
hey, you are the decline and the downfall that you're setting yourself up for is going to be epic. And you and I would try to express, kind of highlight that. And I think about that if I talk to some of the guys that there's some folks that I work with or not work with, but that I'm doing a class and they're younger, they've been on the job, 4-10 years, something like that, which I used to think was a lot, but now it's not really. And I'd be like, hey, listen, be proactive in trying to figure out the best way to live, right? Right now, the things that the immediacy of, I like doing this, it's fun and stuff like that. You need to focus on how long you could do that for. Because at the speed that you're going, you're going to burn yourself out pretty quick. Or you're going to do something that you're going to regret. Or you're going to trade one relationship for another. Or you're going to put the job in front of all your family and all that stuff. And that's not going to work out. Rather than spending a bunch of time looking back like I am, going, man, I fucked up a lot of stuff. I wish I would have done things a lot different. Take advantage of it now. Take advantage of it now. Do the little changes now so that you don't have to do the big changes later.
That's right.
And it makes your life so much better. It makes the quality of your life better. It makes the relationships in your life better. And in just doing that, it takes discipline now.
Yeah.
It takes discipline. I mean, drive, wanting to do it is not enough. And I listened to somebody talk about that. I don't know if it was Jocko or it was one of the team broadcast guys, but he said, he goes, the drive to do something is not what gets people from point A to point B. It's the discipline to do it even when you don't want to. Right. The discipline to do the work when you don't have the drive. That's the tough part.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. And then for me, I think I would have put less emphasis on what I thought people wanted from me and more about what I needed from me. And I will tell you, I would have probably slowed down. I was a FOMO guy. I was like fear of missing out of everything. I wanted to be involved in everything. If you want to party, I want to party. If we want to work, I want to work. To the nth degree. If I'm going to party, they're going to be like, yeah, Chris is going to party. Like that's, he can party. And you know what? To me, I thought that was like, yeah, that's all. It's not, man, because that shit fades pretty quickly. And those, man, do you remember that? That was awesome. Turned into, dude, do you remember that? That was
that? It was horrible. Yeah. Doug, same question, man. Knowing what you know now, you ran into Doug in the past. What would you tell him?
Well, first of all, I'd punch him in his fucking face.
That'd
be the first thing I did. But I did that enough to myself over the years. I would tell myself to slow down.
Yeah.
Catch your breath. Don't set such high standards for yourself. And focus on God more than as I was focusing on. That's what I tell myself.
I always I think of this is that you don't have to wait till the wheels fall off.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. There's so many things around you. There's so much help around you, and there's so many people telling you, in not so many words, "Hey, are you okay?" Answer one of those truthfully. You don't. And we sit here in front of you, telling you that don't go down the path we went down. We all let the wheels fall off before we decide to do something. You don't have to let the wheels fall off. There's help near you. There's help around you. And I always tell people that your family, all they want to do is help you.
Yeah.
All they want to do is help you. But you got to help them to help you. They don't know what to do. Come home and you've done everything we just talked about today. You've kind of alienated them. You haven't talked to them. They don't know what you need to get to the next minute. And they just need that information and they will help you. So you don't have to let the wheels fall off. Take the help that's around you. It's there for you. Go ahead, Chris. You say something?
Yeah, I think I wanted to try and it's a personality thing for me. I want to do everything fun right now. I want to do if we get to a function, I want to go immediately start. Like I want to go from getting there to having the best time of my life in less than a fraction of a second.
Right.
And it was, and you burn out pretty quickly that way. I think the journey, or just like you said, and like Doug said, take your time, slow down. It's the problem with running too fast towards that is that the whole thing goes by so quickly. But when you take your time for anything, whether it be, and when we were talking about that, there was a guy that he was an investigator, he's a major crimes investigator that I used to work with. He was one of the guys that if he debriefed you, like I thought a debrief would be like, oh, I'm going to talk to this kid for a day or two, get his whole pedigree, blah, blah, blah. When this guy debriefed you, it would probably take 3 weeks to a month. Not only did he know you, he knew your family, he knew everything. He took his time. I was like, I don't want to spend a month talking to this chooch right here. I said, all right, give me what's up. All right, give me the. He took his time. But let me tell you something. When he dropped the hammer on you, your house was gone, your cars were gone, your sister's house was gone, your bank accounts are gone. He wiped you and your entire generation out. Like that's the reach he had because he was slow and methodical. And he was just this little dude. I remember, I remember thinking, like, man, I'd love to be like that, but I don't have the temperament for that. Like, I need that quick kind of like satisfaction of, all right, let's do this. Like during that time, he was doing. It was funny because he was doing this debriefing. It was taking like fucking forever, right? And me and my partner were like, all right, here's the challenge. We're gonna do one search warrant a day for like 7 days, right? Like we're gonna do investigations. We're gonna do like every day. We're gonna kick in somebody's door. And we're gonna stop dope and whatever. We had enough dope dealers in the area to do that. And by day 3, I think it was day 3 or 4, we had so much evidence and bullshit that we had to like type up and put away and stuff like that. I was exhausted. And I looked at my partner. I'm like, I don't want to do this no more. Like,
this was stupid.
This is too much, man. And everybody was like, dude, what? Some of our attack guys were loving it because they were getting a ton of overtime, kind of doing it. But we got stuck with doing all the evidence, and we were just kind of split. But that was, I'm a young kid in narcotics doing what we need to do. I want to kick in doors. I want to do that. This one guy is going to do one search warrant, albeit his one search warrant is going to take down 437 keys, $5 million, and a fleet of cars and boats. I just ripped off a guy for a quarter key. It's slow down. Like what Doug said and what you said, take it in, slow down, enjoy it, cherish those moments, and moving. And again, when I say slow, just like on tactically, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Our slow is a little bit quicker than most. Yeah. I would put that out there, right? So it's not like you're going backwards, but man, enjoy it and take your time and soak all that shit in. It's just fun. Just fun.
All right. Well, hey man, we're gonna wrap it up because we all got some shit to do in about 10 minutes. So
yes,
and let's after action can help with all this. We absolutely have the resources to help with this, to help kind of regulate some, get you back to being not just functional, but just being a whole person, right? Being that person that's present. So we have those resources. Check us out. And like as always, if you or anybody else that you know is in crisis or needs some help, our information to be. I'm just having a hard time talking today. Credits. Take a look at us. I appreciate it, Chris, Doug. Man, we're out. Thank you, guys.
Baby.